The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website at agingpartners@lincoln.ne.gov.
Are diamonds really a girl's best friend? Not necessarily. I'm Lita Powell Drake. Join us today on Live and Learn because Tom Wright of Wright's Jewelers is going to show us all the gemstones for the entire year. Stay tuned.
Is there any doubt that this beautiful English cocker could bring joy to your day? I'm Kristen Stowes. Please stay tuned as we hear about the benefits of pet therapy. Right, Riley?
I'm Sam Truax, and today on Live and Learn, my guest is Roxanne Smith, who will tell us about touring the unique Nebraska State Capitol building.
Mystery, suspense, and thriller novels are a delight to read, and it's always a treat when the murderer gets their just desserts. Lincoln City Libraries offers a variety of reading groups, and one of them is called Just Desserts. We'll explore that group today with my guest, Scott Clark.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
In what month were you born? Do you know what your gemstone is, your birthstone? Hi, I'm Lita Powell Drake, and we're going to talk about the day in which you were born and the month in which you were born and whatever your gemstone is, and we're going to talk to the expert here with us, Tom Wright from Tom Wright Jewelers, who knows all there is to know about gemstones. And where did the idea of wearing a stone for your particular birth month, where did that begin, Tom?
Well, it's theorized that it actually is derived from the breastplate of Aaron, as described in the Bible in Exodus. His clothing, his armament, had 12 stones, which represented the 12 tribes of Israel. And from those 12 stones is what they are thinking where the birthstone idea derived.
Isn't that interesting and how significant it's been, you know, from all these years? All right, we're going to take a look at each month. So you take a look at the month in which you were born, and I think you'll find these fascinating. So January, coming up.
January is a very beautiful stone. Most people believe that the garnet is that dark red, almost blackish red coloring. But in true reality, garnet is in almost every color of the rainbow. There are many, many different colors of garnet. One of the most beautiful is a vibrant green garnet.
Oh.
But the most traditional, of course, is, as I'm showing here, the dark red.
All right, let's take a look at February. Here's your birthstone.
February is a fun one because February is the amethyst. Amethyst is the purple variety of the mineral quartz. Quartz is the most abundant gem in the Earth's crust. So amethyst is beautiful. One of the things you want to look for in amethyst when you're looking at it is as you see the royal, see the royal purple, you do want to look for that secondary color of a frosty pink coloring. That denotes a very fine amethyst.
Whoa. All right, moving right along to March. That happens to be my birth month.
Aquamarine. Aquamarine is the soft, soft blue coloring. It's actually the mineral beryl. And when beryl is that blue coloring, it is called aquamarine.
Beryl, what is that?
It is an actual mineral.
They find that in the ground?
Right.
Oh, that is
beryl is also several other colors, and we will have it come up later in one of the other birth months.
All right, now let's take a look now at April, and of course April is the diamond.
April is diamond, and April will give you the most important gem there is, diamond, the chief among all gems. Diamond is, as most people have known for years, one of the most durable substances known to man, one of the hardest substances.
Are diamonds really a girl's best friend?
In my line of thinking, yes. But
you mean because it's the most expensive? Is that the most expensive?
No, it isn't.
Oh,
Actually, it isn't. There are several other gems, due to rarity, that are going to be more expensive. So it is. But diamond is still considered the chief gem.
The cheap gem? The cheap?
Chief.
Oh, cheap. I thought, I didn't know diamonds were cheap.
No.
were cheap.
But
Yeah, but
they are.
that's the one that everybody gives for, when you're going to get
It's
married or
associated with
engagement.
love and sentiment. So its association that way dates back many centuries to a nobleman who presented his intended future wife a diamond. The difficulty in that case was, I believe she was about 11 and he was much older, and he
Isn't
had to
that
wait
swell?
many years for her. So this was his symbol to
Well,
denote.
if she was only 11, I don't think it would
was 11
fit.
or 12, somewhere
Well,
in that age group.
I mean, her ring size would have been really tiny. Oh, the things that they did in the old days,
Yeah.
some are better left unsaid.
Right.
All right, moving along from the diamond, we're going to move to our next month, and it's May.
May is, of course, emerald, and emerald is that vibrant green that everybody thinks about. The difficulty is that most people don't realize that maybe the coloring that your mind's eye is thinking about, the look that your mind's eye is thinking about, is not always what you're going to find in true natural emerald within the price ranges that most people are going to be interested in. Emerald is very prone to having the internal flaws that you see.
Oh, is that what that is?
Right, that what you're seeing there, that veil-like look, that is normal to emerald.
But it's okay to have the flaw.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
it's just that the surprise comes when people have something in their mind and then go and see it, and it looks different.
All right, let's move to our next month. Is this your birth month? This happens to be June.
June is, of course, pearl. The pearls, as we see here, I have two examples. First being the fine Tahitian pearls, then, of course, the traditional creamy white pearls. Pearls are one of the selectables for June. There are two other stones possible for June, which are moonstone and alexandrite, but the pearl is usually the most often. It can be also used in rings and other ways, but I just happen to show strands here right now.
And so the little clam had to work hard to make those pearls, and then the divers went down and scarfed them up.
Actually, today that process is still done, but there are two main different processes. The original was the Akoya saltwater process. They now also use the freshwater process. The freshwater is much quicker than the saltwater.
All right, moving along to June, or July now, and this is one of my favorites. The
It happens to be my birthstone.
Oh, that's your birthstone? Oh,
July
my
is mine.
goodness.
And ruby is the red variety
Oh,
of the
that's
mineral
beautiful.
corundum. And it can only be red. We'll bring that up again in one of our later months. But the ruby is a very beautiful, beautiful stone. Lita, this is one of the stones that in some instances could be more expensive than diamonds.
Oh,
The rarity and of very fine, fine rubies makes them one of the more expensive stones.
where do they find something like a
All over the world. There's even places in the United States that they can find different things like this.
All right, we're going to move on to August now, and this is very special here.
August.
That's a different name.
Augusta is peridot.
Peridot.
Peridot. It looks like the word should be.
Peridot.
Yeah.
Peridot.
Most people say peridot. Well, it's actually peridot. Peridot is a beautiful yellowy green, lighter green coloring. This is an interesting point, though. August is one of the months that peridot has been the birth stone for years and years, but currently there is a movement to identify a second stone, which will be spinel. And spinel comes in every color of the rainbow also, but the traditional stone for August is peridot.
And moving along to September, is that your birthstone?
September is a repeat because
Oh.
repeat in that September is any color of the rainbow except red. September is the sapphire, which is the same stone as ruby that we talked about from July. September can come in every color of the rainbow except red, because when sapphire is red, it's called ruby. They're the exact same stone.
So if you wear one of those stones that really is the same as another month, people might think you were born at a different time.
No, because coloring. Ruby, July, can only be red. Sapphire for September predominantly is blue, but it can be any color,
All right.
except red.
Moving along to October and your birthstone.
October is another month with multiple choices. The main choice, most traditional choice, of course, was opal. And opal comes in many different colors. Opal can be all different kinds of colors. I happen to have red faceted opal that is very beautiful. But here I'm showing tourmaline. The green tourmaline is a very fine stone for October. It also comes in many other colors. Tourmaline is a great choice for October.
And the birthstone for November is?
November is a confusing one because the birthstone is actually topaz. And topaz it has various colors, but the topaz is a bit rarer and a bit more expensive. So many years ago for November, they did go in and identify citrine, the golden variety of citrine.
Say that again?
Citrine.
Citrine?
Citrine. Now, just from a gemology standpoint, citrine is the golden variety of quartz. Remember our amethyst that we talked about for February was quartz. This also is quartz, except in the golden variety.
And our final month is December, and the gemstone for December is?
Here again, we've got multiples. The traditional one was turquoise, all different types of turquoise. Then, of course, they, many years ago, added zircon. And what I usually am more often leaning towards in zircon, natural zircon, is the blue variety of natural zircon. Then, of course, a new gem in the world is tanzanite, which is the blue variety, blue-purple variety of zoisite mineral.
All right, we've done all of the 12 months, but I know you've had some interesting experiences being a jeweler these many years, and I'm springing this on you. Would you care to share a little story of something that's happened to you in the past?
Well, the biggest thing about being a jeweler is people don't come to a jewelry store to be sad. People come to a jewelry store for happy things, for happy occasions.
Until they see the price.
Well, actually, that's secondary, because if you start looking at one of the things that we enjoy most is young couples and engagements. One time we had a situation where we had a young couple in for an engagement ring. He happened to be president of his fraternity. One of his pledges in the fraternity happened to see him in our store. They held a fraternity rally right there while he was getting his engagement ring.
Oh, that's
But
special.
it's the sentiment is great.
Yeah, and anything really unusual? Somebody coming in with some interesting problems?
Oh, yeah. I once had a pocket watch with 9.5 carats of diamond mounted into the case of it, and it was engraved on the inside from Archduke something to someone. The family had no background, no provenance on it. So,
And provenance is?
provenance, no history, no
That's it.
proof.
Some written proof,
Right,
yes.
some way to tie it to something. I actually was going to be in New York that next week, so I took it to New York to Sotheby's, and they said, and they could not get any provenance. They could not prove anything. So its only worth was the gems and the watch. It had no historic that we could prove.
Tom Wright, this has been delightful. Thank you for sharing all 12 months, the gems of the year. And for you at home, remember, it's never too late to live and learn about your birthstone.
Do you own a pet? Do you realize how much that pet is providing beyond companionship? I'm Kristen Stoes, and today we are going to hear the benefits of pet therapy. I will be speaking with Bruce Hahn, a pet therapy volunteer, in a moment. But first, I welcome Susan Stearns, Tabitha Hospice Volunteer Coordinator. Susan, thank you for being on Live and Learn today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Please tell us how long Tabitha has been using pet therapy.
They've been using pet therapy 2 years.
Just 2 years, so a fairly new program. And they're using it with their hospice clients. Why did your organization decide that pet therapy was such an important component to add?
We wanted to meet the needs of our clients and to provide non-pharmacological form of treatment.
Yes, that would be very important, I'm thinking. That would be a good thing to have. Although today we are talking about pet therapy related to hospice care, there are many other areas where pet therapy is being used, and you're hearing about this more and more. Could we talk about where else it has been successful?
Nursing homes have been using it for a long time. Schools have started using it for behavioral students, children with autism, and most recently suicides. They use it for families, to comfort families with mass tragedies.
So it really is used in a wide range of areas and with a wide range of ages.
Yes.
So it's applicable in many situations. How does pet therapy actually help the client mentally and emotionally?
It brings back childhood memories a lot of times about their own pets that they've had. It comforts them. When the client is petting the dog, it's a tactile stimulation. Kind of, instead of being bored, it helps reduce loneliness, anxiety, sometimes stress. It gives them something to think about besides their own health issues, which is, really important.
It is so important to have something to look forward to,
Yes.
having a new visitor. And I think pets are always just so compassionate and warm, and everybody enjoys having a pet around. So, and yes, to think about something else, it just gives them a break in the day, right?
It brightens their days, yeah.
I can imagine. Research has shown that pet therapy can also have physical benefits, which I think is very interesting. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
It has been shown that it helps reduce blood pressure, heart rate. People aren't on as much medicine for
For whatever
anxiety, sometimes depression. They don't have to take as much medicine because it helps.
So it must actually help their physical pain if
Oh,
they
yes,
can reduce
yes.
their medications. I think that would be a fabulous benefit. Yes, I like that idea a lot. And I know there are statistics that do back up these claims. Can we cite some of those?
Sure. They say a 12-minute bedside visit with a dog can help reduce anxiety levels by 24% in heart failure patients. Research has found that it helps drop stress in patients. It helps with the pulmonary artery. It's dropped that 5% during and after a visit by a dog and a volunteer.
Wow. So it really does statistically prove that this is very helpful.
Yes.
I can see where it will continue to gain acceptance in many areas then.
I think it's grown, just in the last few years.
Yeah, you hear about it all the time. You really do in
yes.
so many ways. Why are dogs so well suited for this?
They are easily trained. They have that personality. They often love the client, unconditionally. They can be leashed. They just have that personality that other animals may not have.
And dogs are just intuitively sense the situation. Do you find that?
Yeah, I've heard stories of dogs actually crying when a patient's, passing away. They know when a patient might be in pain. They sense.
Oh, I think that's so interesting. I really do. What specifically do you require for the dogs that are used in your therapy program then?
They have to be certified. They have to have their vaccinations and health records before they can become certified pet therapy dogs.
Okay, all right. So there's no real age requirement for the animal or a specific breed requirement?
No. And I have seen large dogs to tiny dogs become pet therapy dogs. So
Okay, all right. How does someone apply to do this volunteer work?
they have to fill out an application and a background check, and then we do some hospice training, and then the next step would be finding a client and a volunteer and a pet that would be suitable for the client.
So some time is spent on matching up the
Yes.
correct
Yep.
client with the correct therapy animal.
Yes.
Yes, that would be important too, I'm certain. I believe we will be putting on screen the contact information if anyone watching would like to become a pet therapy volunteer. Gosh, you've given us so much good information, Susan. I thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you for
And
having me.
we are going to be having a pet therapy volunteer on so we can hear the ins and outs of volunteering in this wonderful field. I am now pleased to introduce Bruce Hahn, who is a pet therapy volunteer, and his beautiful dog, Riley. Welcome to you both.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Very fun to have you here. Bruce, please tell us about Riley.
Well, Riley's an English Cocker Spaniel. He's a little bit different than the American Cocker. They're a little bit bigger, and they have longer ears. Their snout's a little bit different, but they're wonderful people dogs. And he's 4 years old, and we went on a search for one, and found him in Colorado when he was just 8 months old. So we've had him with us for
So you've had
a
him
while.
since then. Certainly a beautiful, beautiful
Well,
dog.
thank you.
I was interested to find out that you actually had pet therapy in mind
I did.
before you
I did.
found Riley.
I did. We have a friend that actually has 2 English Cockers.
Okay.
And I fell in love with those dogs. And we knew that he did pet therapy he did nursing homes and assisted living facilities.
Okay.
And so I thought about it, and I had done some other volunteer work, and I was sort of wanting to take a new approach to my volunteer work. And so I decided that after getting permission from my wife, Kathy,
Yes.
that we could look for an English Cocker, and with the idea that we would use him and do some therapy.
Well, and it seems to have worked out beautifully.
It is
for
working
you.
out really well. We're having a good time with it.
Good, good. What specific training then did you do with Riley before you actually started to volunteer?
Well, in order to come into these facilities, they have to have pet therapy certification.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you have to have fairly extensive training. We started off at the Greater Lincoln Obedience Center, and we took 2 classes there. The classes were big classes with a lot of dogs, and we got through them and we passed them, but the focus, because he was so young, I think, was always distracted. So when I finished those, I decided that I wanted to do a little bit more work before I had him tested. So I hired a private trainer.
You did.
And we
wow.
went to a private trainer for about 2 months, and then you have to take a test. So we went back out to the Greater Lincoln Obedience Center, and they had a test specifically for pet therapy, and they have 10 tests that they have to pass.
Really?
And they range from simple things like sitting or staying to the ultimate one is I have to hand him over to a stranger and I have to leave. Be gone out of sight
That would be tough, I'm
for
imagining.
5 minutes and have them accept that.
Okay.
And so we went through all 10 tests and we passed the first 9. We didn't pass that sitting with a stranger test the first time
Okay.
out, so that upset him. So we left, and I went around to the neighborhood that I live in, and I found about 4 neighbors that didn't know Riley, and I told them what I was doing.
Okay.
And so they agreed to work with us, and so we would take walks in the evening, and we'd stop at a different place.
Sure.
And they'd come out, and I'd hand the leash over with Riley, and I'd go to the backyard for 5 minutes.
So you could accustom him
So
to
we
that.
did that for about a month till I felt comfortable, and we went back, and then I had to take all 10 tests.
Sure.
Again. But we passed that
But you
time.
passed.
So we passed
You
that time.
passed.
So we have an AKC, American Kennel Club
Okay.
certification as a therapy dog.
Then there was also training that needed to be done at Tabitha to be the hospice
Right.
pet therapy dog.
Right. Well, I started off doing the assisted living and nursing homes.
I
and
see.
For Riley's temperament, I didn't think, it wasn't working as well as I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it was the fact that we were walking in every time to a different person's room.
Okay.
There were strange smells, they were strange rooms, and all he wanted to do was wander around and find out what was going on in the room.
Sure.
So when that wasn't working well, I thought about it for a long time, and the commitment to work with hospice clients was a big one for me, and I had to make sure that I had my own mindset. So I finally gave it about a month or so, and I thought about it, and I went ahead and I talked to them at Tabitha. And they have a full two-day training
do,
course
okay.
that you have to take
Okay.
before they're allowing you to go in and meet with the
Sure.
clients.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. That makes
So
sense.
we've done that, and he gets to go into the same client every week.
Does he remember the
He
clients from
does.
time
He-
to time?
You know, it's like everything else. They get so they know him. The
Okay.
rooms are familiar. The scents are familiar. He walks in. They're excited to see him. He's excited to see them. And they just sort of become good friends.
So what do you get personally out of this kind
Oh,
of volunteer work, Bruce?
It's tough because with hospice, ultimately you lose your clients, but the rewards are just amazing, and they far outweigh the stress that I put myself under when something finally does happen. And we go in and we sit and we talk generally for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. Right now I have 2 clients that I'm working with.
Okay.
And so we go in and we sit and they pet and make over Riley, and then when they finish that, he sees himself.
Oh, Riley.
That's just you. He did that yesterday too. We came out of the store and he saw himself in the window and he just went nuts. But so we go in and they pay a great deal of attention to him. And then he's enough. You want a treat?
So tell me, Bruce, can you see positive changes in the client during your
Yes,
visit?
absolutely. They love it. As I understand it, they request pet therapy.
Okay.
So they're people that have probably had dogs in the past
Oh, yes.
and miss their pets, or maybe they still have pets at their homes that they don't get to see on a regular basis. So the clients that I have worked with have all requested pet therapy, so they're always thrilled to see him.
Yeah.
They're always thrilled to see him, and he's gotten pretty excited about seeing them. He's not so excited about seeing himself, but
Can you tell me about the time commitment, the flexibility of this kind of volunteering?
all they ask is that we go in and they don't set they don't say you have to go in and talk to them for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour.
Okay.
They ask for you to make a weekly visit.
Okay. All right.
And you're given complete freedom. They give a schedule of when they have maybe aides coming in that are working with them,
Sure.
or specific times when maybe they have some treatments, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So you get that schedule, and as long as you work around that, you're free to go whenever, which I like.
Yes.
It gives me flexibility because I
Yes.
can't always go
Well,
at the
that's
same
very
time.
important with volunteer work
Right,
of any kind.
exactly.
Yes,
so
I
we
agree.
go in once a week,
Oh.
and depending on how he's doing and how they're doing, sometimes we're there for 15 minutes or
Okay.
10 minutes, and
All right.
sometimes we're there for a half an hour.
Well, Bruce, really, thank you so much for bringing
Well-
Riley in. Thank you to both of you, Riley too, for the compassion you show in doing this kind of volunteer
Well,
work. I know it's important.
It is. It's important, and it's been very rewarding. And
Good.
we both enjoy it.
Good.
We
Well,
both
I can
enjoy it.
tell. I can
and
tell.
I think the clients do.
Yes, I'm sure the clients do. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for allowing us
Yep,
to come.
It's been fun.
He's actually been pretty good.
He's been excellent. Again, we are putting on screen the contact information if you are interested in being a pet therapy volunteer.
Yeah, you did good.
And as always, please remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
The Lincoln City Libraries offer a variety of services and reading groups throughout the city. One group is called Just Desserts. My guest today is the coordinator of that group, Scott Clark. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Just Desserts has been meeting together for 10 years now. How did this group begin?
Well, the Lincoln City Libraries has several book groups, but we were looking for something that could be headquartered at our downtown library. Most of the other book groups are at branch libraries. And we wanted something that was a little different than just the everybody comes together and listens to a presentation. We wanted something where the customers could be interactive with each other. And we knew that mysteries was the #1 reading category. It has the highest sales and the highest circulation category. And so we decided a mystery book group would be interesting, but we still wanted to be a little different, so we decided to put a twist on it. I had been doing some research on other libraries around the country and what they had been doing. Mystery book groups were popular at various libraries, and there was one library that was doing desserts with books, where people would basically bring cookies and pies and things like that and sit around and gorge themselves while talking about mysteries. So we decided to do the same thing just to see how it would work, and the name was just obvious. I mean, Just Desserts. Not only is it the desserts, but it's also the killer got their just desserts. So.
That's fantastic. What a fun idea. So you've been meeting together for 10 years. Any of the original members still in the group?
Not really. When we first started meeting, our very first meeting, we had a lot of promotion. We had over 30 people show up, mostly college students because we were promoting on the university's campus. And then starting with the second meeting on, we were down to maybe 8 people showing up for most of the meetings. And a lot of those people have moved on to other things. But over the course of 10 years, we keep adding people. So I would say we probably have people from year 2 on who've stuck with us.
So are you still meeting at the downtown location?
We started at the downtown location as an evening book group. Both of the other branch library book groups are either a morning or an afternoon thing, so the other difference about us was we wanted to have it at a different time of the day. And unfortunately, when budget cuts eliminated evening hours at the downtown library, that necessitated a move. So the Bennett Martin Library and the South Branch Library, 27th and South Streets, are considered to be part of the same unit, essentially. So we just shifted over to South Branch, and we've been there ever since about year 3. So.
Well, great. So on a monthly average now, how many do you have?
Generally, we have about 20 people that show up at the meetings. We also have an email list, which we promote as a means of people being aware of what we basically send out messages about. Here's the upcoming meeting schedule. Here are the books we're going to be reading, things like that. There are actually over 140 people on that email list, and several of them have told me that they can't attend the meetings, but they like knowing what we're reading so they can read along with us, even if they're not there. But at the actual physical meetings, we usually have about 20. We did celebrate our 100th straight meeting 2 months ago, and at that meeting we had about 45 people show up. So that was terrific.
How wonderful. Just desserts, what a tasty topic. How do you select the books?
It's generally somewhat of a group consensus. We ask for what authors people would like to read. I should give a little background. When we first started the group, we alternated. 1 month was a classic author, say somebody from 100 years ago, and then the next month would be a contemporary author. As the size of the group continued to get larger, we suddenly realized if the library wants to provide books for each person that's going to participate, we need titles that are fairly popular, that we have 15, 20 copies of, and that eliminated some of the classic authors who we have lots of books by, but not necessarily 20 copies of them.
Sure.
So the group throws out ideas for authors that they're interested in pursuing, and one of our goals, and this is the thing I'm proudest about this group, is that I've introduced people to so many new authors. We have not repeated an author more than 1 time in 100 meetings. So that's 99 different authors that we've selected over the years. So the group throws out authors that they're interested in, and then I have to do a little research to find out how many copies the library has of specific titles, and we try to do looking for like reviews on things like Goodreads and Library Thing and Amazon, just to see which books by particular authors are well received and which perhaps don't get the good reviews. With that combination of stuff, we then select a specific title by an author. So.
Do you have a variety of people who attend this group, all ages, all?
It's a mix. I would say we have a lot of seniors, but there's also people in their 20s and 30s that come. I will say that it is mainly women. In addition to me as the coordinator host, we have 1 or 2 guys that show up on a regular basis. The rest is all women.
And is that typical for the groups that the library hosts?
I have given book presentations at the other 2 branches book groups that they have, and generally that's correct. I'd say probably about an 80-20 percentage women to men ratio. The other book groups, because they meet in the mornings and the afternoons, are almost exclusively seniors because they're during the workday. But our evening book group does allow a little bit more flexibility.
So you meet at the South Branch Library, and that's at the corner of 27th and South.
Correct.
And is that handicap accessible, Scott? I assume it is.
It is. They're having some issues during weather days with the handicapped accessible door, so you have to watch out for that and call ahead if it's raining that day to see if there's going to be any issues with that door. But otherwise, yes, there is a path for handicap accessible.
Wonderful, wonderful. Is there a fee to be a part of this group?
Absolutely not. No Lincoln City Libraries events ever have fees unless they're specifically announced in advance. Say we have a wine and we event where people are doing a fundraiser, that kind of thing. But otherwise, any public event for the library is always free.
So how would someone register if they want to be a part of your group?
No registration is actually necessary. We encourage people to just sit in with us. Since the theme is that we all read the same book in advance and discuss it at a particular meeting, that can lead to situations, and we highly encourage this, where people just sort of attend one meeting and sit in the background just to see what it's like. You don't actually have to register for anything in advance. We do have, like I said before, an email list if you'd like to be added to that for notification purposes of what the upcoming titles are and things like that. That's an easy way to at least be alerted as to changes in dates and stuff like that. We also post all this information on the library's website, of course, so you can also check the library's Facebook page, where we have all of the Just Desserts meetings listed as events on our event page.
Wonderful. And I know the LincolnLibraries.org website also lists all of the books, and you keep a blog out there about your meetings and events. That's wonderful. As I was reading through, as you mentioned, there's a variety of styles and authors. Jonathan Kellerman, James Patterson, Sue Grafton, Mary Higgins Clark, and then Agatha Christie and Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yep, well, we run the gamut.
Is there always a murder?
I would have to say, out of 102 meetings that we've had, I don't think we've had a single one where there was not a murder involved. It's very rare in the mystery publishing field to find non-murder related crime books. The thriller field may be a little different, where you have political thrillers and things like that, or the caper type novel where it's all about stealing something. But for the most part, mysteries tend to be murders as opposed to any other crimes.
Mystery, suspense, thriller, are those different genres? Are they the same? Do they cross over?
There's a lot of crossover. Our last topic of murder does cross over a lot with all the different categories. I would say suspense, you tend to have perhaps a little bit more about the relationships. One of the big categories is romantic suspense, where you've got that relationship between the main characters while they're in a suspenseful situation. In fact, Harlequin, the romance publisher, publishes a huge line of suspense novels where romance is a huge part of it. Thrillers, you mentioned Patterson as an example. The thrillers tend to be more action-oriented. There oftentimes is just a large global spanning plot involved in those kinds of things. Mysteries tend to be a sleuth or a group of sleuths trying to solve a particular specific individual crime. Now that may bleed out, if I can use that pun, into other crimes that end up being associated with it, but it all tends to be the solution of a single crime, usually a murder.
Okay. How long have you been with the library, Scott?
I started working at our Anderson branch as a shelver back in 1980 when I was in high school, and have gone through several different positions throughout the years, so this year would be my 36th year.
Well, congratulations. Thank you for all that you've done for libraries in our city. I know that you personally are a science fiction aficionado. Are there other groups? Is there a science fiction group that the library hosts?
The library does not. I am, just as a side note, a member of a science fiction club here in Lincoln, which does pretty much the same thing that Just Desserts does. Once every 6 weeks we have a book discussion where we all read the same book and discuss it, but that's not a library-sponsored one. Lincoln has a couple of different science fiction clubs, and the one I've been with, which was actually founded back in 1974, if you can picture that, is Starbase Andromeda, and we're looking forward to this year, 2016, being the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, which was the original reason that the club was founded, was to support Star Trek. So.
Well, how fun. There are a variety of offerings that the Lincoln City Libraries has available. There's Book in a Bag. Can you tell us briefly about that?
Sure. We have something called Book Club in a Bag, which is basically a canvas bag with 10 copies of a book and a discussion guide. So if you have a private book group that is meeting and would like to get 10 copies of it all at once so that the group can share them, they are checked out for 8 weeks instead of the normal library 3-week checkout period, although no renewals are possible. Basically, the Book Club in a Bags are primarily just the One Book, One Lincoln titles, either the finalists or the actual winners. So each year we have 3 to 5 different sets of those that are added to this rotating collection. But any book club that is interested in those is always welcome to check those out. So.
Great. And they can go to any branch and get those?
Yes. They are actually physically located at one particular branch, the Walt branch in Southwest Lincoln. However, if you want to have them sent to another location, arrangements can be made within 1 to 2 days.
Wonderful. What else is the library offering these days that I haven't mentioned? Can you think of some things?
Well, right now our 2 big things are that it is the summer, and so we're right in the middle of the summer reading program. And a few years ago that was expanded from just the kids to all age brackets. So now there are 3 different programming tracks for kids, teens, and adults. So all 3 different categories can participate in the summer reading program, and that involves tracking how much you're reading and also taking part in activities throughout the course of the summer. And this year, for the first time ever, we went with online registration. So if you have internet access, you can actually go to the library's website and sign up to participate without actually stopping at the library directly. So that's one thing. And then, of course, we're right in the middle also of One Book, One Lincoln, which is an annual community-wide reading project. And this year is the 15th year, and the winning title was announced on Memorial Day. It is Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, and over the course of the next few months there are multiple discussion groups and special events programmed around the themes of that particular book.
I hate to put you on the spot, Scott, but have you read the One Book, One Lincoln book?
I have. I am also the person that puts together the website for One Book, One Lincoln every year, so I kind of had to read that so I knew what themes to focus on the website design. So.
Wonderful. So being a librarian's not like it used to be, is it?
It is not. We get a lot of weird reactions from people when they come into the library downtown and see people sitting there with their lunches and eating at tables, and it's like, my mom's library would never allow that, and it's like, we're not your mom's library. We're a modern library with lots of new ideas. So.
Well, that's terrific. Well, Scott, it's been a delight to consider how a murderer gets their just desserts. And my guest today has been Scott Clark with the Lincoln City Libraries. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
I'm Sam Truax, and today on Live and Learn, my guest, Roxanne Smith, is going to tell us about touring the Nebraska State Capitol building. Roxanne, are people allowed to enter and wander around in the State Capitol building?
Yes, indeed. We invite all Nebraskans and visitors to come in and visit our Capitol 360 days a year. We're open for the public, and people can come in, look around on their own, or they can take the guided tour.
Now, on the guided tour, do they get very much more than if they just came in and wandered around?
The building has so much artwork and so much decoration and history that people come in and they look around and say, oh, look, that's pretty. Oh, look, that's pretty. But then on the guided tour, they get to learn about the history and the background and the artists and what the symbolism is. So yes, public tours are much nicer than just wandering around on your own.
Absolutely. Some of the basically, some of the pictures will show of the Great Hall and things, and actually have almost everything in the building has some historic characteristics. There's a picture of the Great Hall, and the ceiling has, if you're on a tour, you talk about the ceiling even, don't you?
Many people who come in, the floor mosaics, they're distracted by the floor mosaics or the wall mosaics, and then we have to remind them to look up into the ceiling, and then once they get up into that beautiful ceiling, there's so much intricate decoration that it needs explanation. It needs somebody to point out what it means.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the huge benefit of going on the guided tours. Now, what are some of the examples of things that people see when they go in? They enter in the Great Hall there,
We climb up. Well, sometimes people come in on ground floor, and then on first floor, it's the service part of the building, so it's not very pretty. It doesn't have all the beautiful mosaics. So then we send people up to second floor. People climb up the main north entrance, except in wintertime, we keep it closed. But people climb up the main north entrance, and then they're presented with that beautiful view straight into the building. We point out each of the main areas of our building have different themes that go with them,
Yes.
and the artwork supports those themes.
Yes, I believe we're going to show some of the mosaics on the walls and actually in the floor too. I don't know, is this mosaic here, this tile, is that on the floor?
This floor mosaic is in front of the West Legislative Chamber, the George W. Norris Chamber, and it represents ancient Athens and the Acropolis and the beginning of modern Western democracies with the ancient Greeks, and then we have Roman influence represented also in a different mosaic.
See, if you just wandered around, you wouldn't get any idea what that mosaic meant.
No, no.
So, well, when I toured the Capitol building, there were questions and descriptions that informed the attendees about what goes on at the various sections of the Capitol, and that is a big advantage of going on a tour. It informs about things that are going on that they see on television and what went on in history. For example, that Hall of Busts, where it shows the famous Nebraskans, is one area where people are reminded of Nebraska history a lot.
The Hall of Fame was dedicated in our Capitol in 1961, and since then they've inducted new members into the Hall of Fame. And yes, it is a good representation of the important people that have worked to make Nebraska and even the nation a much, much better place. And the side galleries look out into the courtyards. We're working on the Courtyard Fountain project right now, and by the end of the year, the 4 fountains that the Capitol architect Bertram Goodhue intended should be in place and functioning, and then we'll have a big dedication of them come our sesquicentennial next year.
All right, yes, sesquicentennial.
Yeah, we practice it ourselves.
Yeah, I have to practice that one. But anyway, that means that the tours are actually expanding as you get more editions like that. You would take the tour people around to see the
Yes,
fountains
indeed.
ultimately.
We encourage people, and then when many people stay home and watch the legislature on NET or on the internet, and so when they come into the building, they say, oh, that's the legislative chamber, that's where it happens. So that's a good thing to show too.
And I think we have a picture of the court.
The Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court. Yes, right.
Yep, there's
right
the
there.
Supreme Court.
And basically that is a place that if you were on a tour, sometimes you're not allowed to go in there.
No, when the
you're
court
on a
is in
tour,
session.
why? Yes. You're on a tour, that you know that. You don't just wander around in a place like that. So.
Yes, when the court's in session, then people can go in and sit in the back of the courtroom and watch themselves. They have to come and go at certain times, and the troopers are pretty strict about, getting access, but visitors are welcome to come in and see all 3 branches of government in action.
Well, that's great. So what do people on the tour seem most impressed with? The artwork or?
Oh my goodness. The artwork, many capitals have pretty marble, but not to the extensive detail of the artwork that we have, and not with the symbolism that tells the specific story.
Yes, such as this one here that's up on the screen now is, just looks like a modern art, but it has some history there.
Oh yes, indeed. This mural by Kenneth Evatt was added to the building in 1956, and it's part of the murals in the rotunda, which remind us that we have to labor together if we're going to work to make a better world. And you can see by the activities of the people in the mural that they are working with their hearts. It's the musicians and the dancers. And so working with our hearts, our heads, and our hands.
I would certainly need an interpreter to tell me that. I'll say that. But
it's always nice.
It's a good piece of art. And actually, when I was on the tour, we were most impressed with the mural of the blizzard of 1888, because there's a book written about that, how the people survived or didn't survive in that blizzard.
Yes, that's the story. It's so funny because many visitors come in and they see the murals in the Great Hall and they say, oh my goodness, those are so modern, those are so abstract. But like you say, when they're on tour and the Blizzard of 1888 mural by Jean Reynaud is explained, then they say, oh yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, yes. Well, how do folks arrange to actually go on a Capitol tour?
We offer tours on the hour, Monday through Friday at 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, and 4, Saturdays at 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on Sundays at 1, 2, 3, and 4. So people can just walk in and be at the north entrance on second floor on any of those hours and be prepared for a tour, or if they want to call in advance and schedule a tour, or to find out if there's going to be 100 fourth graders on the tour, then they can call the tour office and find out the schedule and make special arrangements for groups too.
We will we'll post a number for the tour office. But you actually don't work in the tour office. You're just kind of knowledgeable about it, aren't you?
I get to supervise the tour staff and work with special events, and I get to provide tours. That's the best part, though, is always helping people learn about the building, and then hopefully through the guided tour, then they can learn the next time they go in a public building, even if they don't get a tour, they kind of have an idea that artwork means some things, and they can start to figure it out on their own.
Well, I'd have to go on 3 or 4 tours before I could figure much of it out, but nevertheless, I did enjoy. Again, as I say, we picked our favorites, like the the Blizzard. And what do folks have to pay to go on a Capitol tour?
Pay attention.
Pay attention. You're right.
The tours are free. The tours are free to anybody that wants to walk in. And I think that's a very nice thing, that for families or for people bringing their grandkids in, it doesn't cost anything.
That's great, because again, it is a wonderful building, and it deserves the attention of the people of Nebraska, I'll say that.
Yes.
So there are people from other states that go to the Capitol too. Do you get comments from them? For example, I had an uncle who went to the Capitol building every time he came to a state capitol. You know, it was kind of a hobby of his. And so if you run into a person like that, they could kind of say, well, this Nebraska Capitol is nice compared to South Dakota or whatever they can make the comparisons. And so you might hear some of that stuff.
Absolutely. People who come in is so amazing, because people are proud of their states, but most people that come in and see our building say, oh, this is so much more beautiful than their capital, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, people comment on how open it is, how clean it is, and how beautiful it is, and then that it has such an inspirational message in terms of the artwork and the tour and how it explains the building.
I think that, well, can us older folks and less able-bodied people be accommodated on those tours? Or?
Yes. The security office has 2 wheelchairs.
I see.
So if people come in and they decide they need a wheelchair, we can provide a wheelchair for them. Also, there is accessible parking on K Street in front of the Capitol, and then the accessible ramps are underneath the big steps, and we have accessible elevator for folks. So yeah, there's benches along the way, so as people want to sit down, and sometimes it's hard to lean back and look up, but from the benches people can look into the ceiling. So yeah, we can accommodate very well.
You can accommodate about anything to go on there. Well, I hope our discussion has informed our viewers enough that they consider touring the Capitol building, because it's an impressive building in which the designers have considered many aspects of Nebraska history. But if they have any questions, they can contact the tour office at the number shown on the screen. I would like to thank my guest, Roxanne Smith, for telling us about the Nebraska Capitol building tours, and she invites you to see the sights at the Capitol building. And remember, it's never too late to live and learn or to tour the Capitol building.